Keira Owens stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of her corner office on the 42nd floor, coffee cup halfway to her lips, when she spotted him through the falling snow below. It was 6:30 in the morning, and most of the world was still asleep. But this man was already outside, red-faced and breathing hard, attacking the thick blanket of snow that had fallen overnight. She watched him finish clearing an elderly woman's driveway, then immediately moved to the next house, and then the next, his movements growing slower and more labored with each passing minute. The pre-dawn light caught the steam of his breath, and even from this distance, Keira could see the exhaustion in his shoulders, the determination in the way he gripped that shovel. There was something about the scene that made her chest tighten, something that pulled at her in a way nothing had in years. This man was clearly struggling physically, clearly tired, but he kept going. For others. For neighbors who were probably still warm in their beds. She set down her coffee cup and moved closer to the window, her reflection ghosting over the scene below. At 34, Keira had built her tech company from the ground up, surviving countless boardroom battles and late-night coding sessions. She had learned to read people quickly, to assess their character in moments. And something about this man, whoever he was, made her want to know more. When he finally stopped, leaning heavily on his shovel and coughing into his elbow, Keira made a decision. She grabbed her coat and headed for the elevator. The cold hit her like a wall when she stepped outside. Her breath crystallized instantly, and she wrapped her cashmere coat tighter around herself, suddenly very aware of her designer boots and how impractical they were for snow. The man was still there, now attempting to start an ancient-looking truck that clearly did not want to cooperate in the cold. "Excuse me," she called out, her voice carrying across the quiet street. He turned, and Keira felt her breath catch for reasons that had nothing to do with the cold. He was probably in his mid-30s, with dark hair dusted with snow and the kind of face that looked like it smiled often, even though right now it was drawn with fatigue. His hazel eyes were wary but kind, and there was a smudge of grease on his jaw. "Yeah." His voice was rough, probably from the cold. Keira realized she had no idea what to say. She had acted on impulse, something she never did. "I saw you shoveling, for your neighbors." His expression softened slightly. "Oh, yeah, Mrs. Patterson next door has a hip replacement last month, and Mr. Chen has emphysema. Can't have them out in this." He gestured at the still falling snow. "And the Johnsons both work early shifts at the hospital. Figured I could help." "That's very kind of you." Keira felt awkward, which was unusual for her. She negotiated million-dollar deals without flinching, but talking to this man made her feel like she was fumbling in the dark. "I work in that building." She pointed at the tower behind her. "I saw you from my office." He followed her gesture and his eyebrows rose. "You're at work at 6:30 in the morning? I could say the same about you." A small smile tugged at his lips. "Fair enough, I'm Blake Anderson, Keira Owens." She extended her hand, and when his calloused palm met hers, she felt warmth spread through her despite the cold. "Well, Keira Owens, I would love to chat more, but I need to get this truck started. My daughter's going to wake up soon, and I need to be there to make her breakfast before school." There was something in his voice when he mentioned his daughter, a softness that made Keira's heart do something strange. "Your truck's not starting? Battery's on its last legs. Just needs a minute." But the confidence in his voice did not match the concern in his eyes. Keira made another impulsive decision. "Let me drive you home." Blake looked at her like she had suggested flying to the moon. "That's not necessary. You're exhausted. You have been shoveling snow for over an hour, and you need to get home to your daughter. My car is warm and starts reliably." "Let me help." He hesitated, and she could see the pride warring with practicality in his expression. Finally, practicality won. "Okay, thank you, but I do not live far. 3 blocks. Her car was indeed warm, the leather seats heated and the powerful engine purring to life immediately. Blake gave her directions in a quiet voice, and Keira noticed how he kept his hands carefully on his lap, as if worried about getting her car dirty. "What do you do?" she asked, navigating the snowy streets carefully. I'm a mechanic. Own a small shop a few miles from here. He paused. Or I did. Lost the lease last month. Landlord sold the building. Now I am working out of a garage I rent by the month while I look for something permanent. It is tough right now. I'm sorry. It happens. I will figure it out. Always do. There was that determination again, the kind that made Keira respect him even more. What about you? What do you do in that fancy tower? I run a software company. We develop data management systems for hospitals and medical facilities. Blake let out a low whistle. So you are probably the boss. CEO, yes. Wow, that's impressive. He did not sound intimidated, just genuinely impressed, which Keira found refreshing. Too many people either fawned over her position or felt threatened by it. Turn here. Yeah, the blue house on the left. It was a small house, neat but clearly showing its age. The paint was fading, and the roof looked like it had seen better days, but the yard was well maintained, and there was a snowman in the front that looked like it had been built with love and laughter. My daughter Emma and I built that yesterday, Blake said, following her gaze. She insisted it needed 3 scarves. I tried to explain that snowmen traditionally have 1 scarf, but 6-year-olds are not big on tradition. 6 years old. Keira did not know much about children, but something about the image of Blake building a snowman with his daughter made her chest feel warm. Thank you for the ride, Blake said, reaching for the door handle. Really? You saved me. Wait. Keira pulled out her business card. If you ever need anything, or if you want to talk about your business situation, call me. I know people in commercial real estate. Maybe I can help. Blake looked at the card, then at her. Why would you do that? Because I watched you shovel snow for 3 neighbors when you clearly could barely stand from exhaustion. Because you are a single dad trying to keep your business afloat and take care of your daughter. Because I think good people deserve help. The words came out more honest than she intended, more vulnerable. Blake took the card, his fingers brushing hers again. Thank you, Keira. Really? She watched him walk up the cracked sidewalk to his front door, and only when he was safely inside did she realize she was smiling. The next week passed in a blur of meetings and conference calls, but Keira found her thoughts drifting back to Blake Anderson more often than she cared to admit. She found herself looking out her office window at 6:30 every morning, and more often than not, she saw him down there, shoveling snow for his neighbors, or helping Mrs. Patterson carry her groceries, or fixing something on Mr. Chen's porch. On Thursday, her assistant buzzed her. There is a Blake Anderson here to see you. He does not have an appointment. Keira's heart did an unexpected flip. Send him in. Blake looked different in her office. Still wearing work clothes, jeans, and a flannel shirt under a jacket that had seen better days, but he had cleaned up and he was holding a small box. He looked nervous. Hi, he said. I hope I am not interrupting. Not at all. Please sit. Keira gestured to the chair across from her desk, forcing herself to maintain her professional composure. Blake sat, setting the box on her desk. I wanted to thank you properly, for the ride and for the offer to help, so I brought you something. He pushed the box toward her. Inside were cookies, clearly homemade, slightly misshapen but smelling incredible. Emma and I made them. She insisted on the sprinkles. There might be too many sprinkles. Keira felt something crack open in her chest. You made me cookies. I know it is not much, especially compared to what you probably usually get, but I wanted you to know I appreciated your kindness. Blake shifted in his seat, and I wanted to ask if your offer still stood, about the real estate contacts. Of course. Keira pulled out her phone. Tell me what you are looking for. Blake explained his situation in more detail. He needed a space large enough for a 3-bay garage with good access and affordable rent. He had some savings, but not much, and he was trying to build his customer base back up after losing his previous location. Keira listened, taking notes, asking questions. She found herself genuinely interested, not just in his business needs but in him. The way his face lit up when he talked about cars, the pride in his voice when he mentioned his customers who trusted him, the worry that crept in when he talked about providing for Emma. "I will make some calls," she said when he finished. "I know a few property managers who owe me favors." "I can't afford much," Blake warned. "Let me see what I can do." Keira paused. "Can I ask you something personal?" Blake nodded. "Emma's mother?" His expression closed off slightly, but he answered. "She left when Emma was 2, decided motherhood was not for her. I have not heard from her in 4 years. It is just Emma and me." "That must be hard." "It is what it is. Emma is the best thing that ever happened to me. I would not trade her for anything." The fierce love in his voice made Keira's throat tight. "She's lucky to have you." Blake's expression softened. "Thank you, that means a lot." He stood. "I should let you get back to work, but thank you again, Keira, for everything." After he left, Keira sat at her desk for a long moment, staring at the box of cookies. Then she picked one up and took a bite. It was delicious, if overwhelmingly covered in rainbow sprinkles, and it tasted like hope. She spent the rest of the day making calls. By evening, she had 3 potential properties for Blake to look at, all within his budget and all with landlords she trusted. She texted him the information. His response came quickly. "You are incredible. Thank you. Can I buy you dinner to say thanks?" Keira stared at the message for a full minute before responding. Yes, they met at a small Italian restaurant on Saturday evening. Keira had debated what to wear for an hour, which was ridiculous. She had given presentations to boards of directors without this much anxiety. Finally, she settled on jeans and a soft sweater, something casual but still nice. Blake was already there when she arrived, wearing dark jeans and a button-down shirt that brought out his eyes. He stood when he saw her, and the smile on his face made her heart race. "You look beautiful," he said simply. "Thank you. You clean up pretty well yourself." They settled into their seats, and the conversation flowed easily. Blake told her about viewing the properties she had sent him, his excitement palpable as he described the one he was leaning toward. It needed some work, but the bones were good, and the landlord was willing to work with him on the timing of the renovations. "I cannot thank you enough," Blake said. "This could really turn things around for me." "You are doing the hard work," Keira pointed out. "I just made a few phone calls." "You made more than phone calls. You cared enough to help a stranger." Their food arrived, and Keira found herself sharing things she rarely talked about. Her childhood in a small town, working multiple jobs to put herself through college. Building her company from nothing, the struggles and triumphs. The loneliness that came with success, the way people saw her title instead of her. Blake listened intently, asking questions, making her laugh with his observations. He told her about Emma, about the joy and terror of being a single parent, about teaching his daughter to ride a bike, and dealing with her stubborn refusal to wear anything but princess dresses for 3 months straight. "She sounds wonderful," Keira said. "She is. She is also exhausting and loud and has more opinions than any 6-year-old should have." Blake's expression was pure love. "I wish you could meet her." The words hung between them, heavy with implication. "I would like that," Keira said quietly. Blake reached across the table and took her hand. His palm was warm and rough, so different from the soft hands of the executives she usually dealt with. "I like you, Keira, a lot, and I do not say that lightly. I have not dated anyone seriously since Emma's mom left. I have been too focused on taking care of my daughter and keeping my business alive. But there is something about you that makes me want to try." Keira's breath caught. "I like you too. I do not do this often either. Actually, I do not think I have had a real relationship in 3 years. I have been married to my job." She squeezed his hand. "But I want to try too." The kiss they shared later, standing beside her car in the cold night air, was tentative and sweet and made Keira feel like a teenager again. Over the next few weeks, they fell into a rhythm. Blake signed the lease on the new space and threw himself into getting it ready. Keira helped where she could, using her business connections to get him deals on equipment and putting him in touch with potential commercial clients who needed a reliable mechanic for their fleets. She met Emma on a Sunday afternoon. Blake had invited her over for lunch, and Keira had been nervous in a way she had never experienced before. What if Emma did not like her? What if she was overstepping? But Emma had answered the door with a gap-toothed grin and immediately started talking about her stuffed animals and her new backpack, and how her daddy was making spaghetti, but he always made too much sauce. "Emma, breathe," Blake had said, laughing. "Let Keira come inside first." The house was small but warm, filled with evidence of their life together. Emma's artwork covered the refrigerator, shoes were scattered by the door, and there was a half-finished puzzle on the coffee table. It felt like a home in a way Keira's pristine apartment never had. Lunch was chaotic and wonderful. Emma insisted on sitting next to Keira and peppered her with questions. What was her favorite color? Did she like princesses? Could she do a cartwheel? "I have not attempted a cartwheel in about 20 years, Keira admitted. "That is okay," Emma said generously. "Daddy cannot do them either. He falls down." "I pulled a muscle," Blake protested. "There is a difference." After lunch, Emma dragged Keira outside to see the new snowman they had built, and then to her room to show off her extensive collection of picture books. Blake followed, leaning against the doorframe with an expression that made Keira's heart squeeze. When Emma finally wore herself out and settled on the couch with a movie, Blake and Keira retreated to the kitchen. "She likes you," Blake said softly. "I like her. She's amazing, Blake. You have done an incredible job with her. Some days I am not sure about that. Some days I feel like I am barely keeping my head above water." Keira moved closer, wrapping her arms around his waist. "You are doing more than surviving. You are raising a happy, confident, kind little girl. You are a good father." Blake pulled her close, resting his chin on top of her head. "You are good for us, both of us." The weeks turned into months. Keira found herself spending more and more time at Blake's house, and he and Emma started coming to her apartment on weekends. Keira learned to make pancakes shaped like animals and helped Emma with her homework. Blake fixed the strange noise her car had been making and taught her basic maintenance. They took Emma to museums and parks, built elaborate blanket forts, and had family movie nights. Keira met Blake's friends, other single parents and longtime customers who had followed him to his new location. Blake met Keira's business partners and impressed them all with his intelligence and his grounded perspective. It was not always easy. There were challenges, moments of doubt, times when their different worlds seemed too far apart. One evening, Keira had to cancel dinner plans last minute because of an emergency at work. A major system had crashed, and one of her biggest clients was threatening to walk. By the time she made it to Blake's house, it was nearly midnight, and she was exhausted and stressed. Blake opened the door in sweatpants and a t-shirt, his hair messy from sleep. "Hey, come here." He pulled her into his arms without asking questions. Keira let herself sink into his embrace, feeling the tension drain from her shoulders. "I am sorry I missed dinner." Emma understood. "We saved you some lasagna." He led her to the kitchen and heated up a plate while she sat at the table, her head in her hands. "Sometimes I do not know how to balance this," she admitted. "My company, you, Emma, I want to be there for both, but there are only so many hours in the day." Blake set the plate in front of her and sat down across from her. "I get it. Running a business is hard. And being in a relationship when you have responsibilities is harder, but we will figure it out, together. What if I am not good at this, at being part of a family?" Blake reached across the table and took her hand. "Keira, you are already part of our family. Emma asks about you every day. She shows you pictures at school. She wants your opinion on what books to read and what shoes to wear. And me, I cannot imagine my life without you anymore, so we will figure out the balance. You do not have to be perfect, you just have to be here as much as you can be." Tears welled in Keira's eyes. "I love you. I did not mean to say it like this, exhausted and stressed and probably looking terrible, but I do. I love you." Blake's face broke into the widest smile she had ever seen. "You look beautiful, and I love you too. I have loved you since you offered to help a stranger with his truck trouble. Maybe even since you came down from your tower in inappropriate boots to talk to some guy shoveling snow. The kiss they shared tasted like tears and tomato sauce and promise. Blake's business began to thrive. Word of mouth brought in more customers, and the commercial contracts Keira had helped him secure provided steady income. He hired an assistant, a young man named Jeremy who was eager to learn and reliable. It meant Blake had more flexibility, more time to spend with Emma and with Keira. They celebrated Emma's 7th birthday with a party at the park. Keira helped Blake plan the whole thing, and watching Emma's face light up as her friends arrived made all the stress worthwhile. That evening, after all the guests had gone and Emma was asleep upstairs, Blake pulled Keira aside. "I have something for you," he said. He handed her a small wrapped box. Inside was a key. Keira looked at him questioningly. "It is a key to the house," Blake said. "I know you have your own place, and I am not asking you to move in, not yet. But I want you to know that you always have a place here, that this is your home too whenever you want it to be." Keira closed her hand around the key, feeling its weight. "Thank you. This means everything to me." Summer came, hot and bright. They took Emma to the beach for a long weekend, and Keira learned that building sandcastles was harder than it looked, and that she was terrible at boogie boarding. Blake was patient and encouraging, and Emma was fearless in the waves, shrieking with laughter every time one knocked her over. One night, after Emma had fallen asleep in the hotel room, Blake and Keira walked along the beach under the stars. "I have been thinking," Blake said, "about the future, about us." Keira's heart started beating faster. "Oh, I want you to know that I am serious about this, about you. I do not have a lot to offer, not compared to what you are used to. But I can promise you that I will love you with everything I have, and Emma loves you too. You are already her person, the one she turns to when she is scared or excited or just needs someone to listen. Blake, you have more to offer than you realize. You have shown me what it means to be part of a family, to put someone else first, to build a life based on love instead of achievement. You have given me more than I knew I was missing." Blake stopped walking and turned to face her, taking both her hands in his. "Then will you think about making this permanent? Not right now, I know it is too soon, but eventually, moving in, building a life together, all of it." "I do not need to think about it," Keira said. "Yes to all of it." Yes. The kiss they shared was witnessed only by the moon and the endless ocean, but it felt like a vow. That fall, Keira started spending more nights at Blake's house than at her own apartment. Her things gradually migrated over. Books and clothes and the expensive coffee maker Blake had always eyed enviously. Emma started calling her Keira Mom, a hybrid that made both adults emotional the first time they heard it. There were adjustments. Learning to share space, to compromise on everything from dinner menus to weekend plans. Navigating the complex emotions that came with blending their lives. But they worked through it together, communicating honestly and choosing each other every day. One Tuesday evening in October, Blake called Keira at work. "I need you to come home." The tone of his voice sent panic through her. "Is Emma okay?" "Emma is fine, everyone is fine, just please come home." Keira left immediately, her mind racing through possibilities. She found Blake's truck in the driveway and nearly ran to the front door. Inside, the house was dim, lit only by what seemed like 100 candles. Blake stood in the living room, wearing his nicest shirt, looking nervous and hopeful and so handsome it made her chest ache. "What is this?" she asked. "Emma, you can come out now," Blake called. Emma emerged from the kitchen wearing her fanciest dress, the one she usually reserved for holidays. She was carrying a small pillow and on it was a ring. Keira's hand flew to her mouth. Blake took the ring from Emma and then dropped to one knee. Emma stood beside him, practically vibrating with excitement. "Keira Owens, you walked into my life on a cold morning when I was exhausted and struggling and had no idea how I was going to keep everything together. You saw me at my worst and decided I was worth knowing anyway. You have loved me and my daughter with a generosity and warmth that still amazes me every day. You have made us a family. Emma nodded vigorously, her eyes shining. I do not have much to offer you. I am a mechanic with a small business and a mortgage on a house that needs a new roof. But I can offer you my heart, my loyalty, and a life filled with love and laughter and probably too many princess movies. Emma giggled. Will you marry me? Will you be my wife and Emma's official other parent and make this family complete? Keira was crying now, tears streaming down her face. Yes, of course yes. Blake stood and slipped the ring onto her finger. It was perfect, a simple diamond on a white gold band, elegant and understated. Then Emma crashed into both of them, wrapping her arms around their legs. You are going to be my real mom now, Emma squealed. Keira dropped to her knees and pulled Emma into a tight hug. I already was, sweet girl. Now it is just official. They celebrated with the fancy dinner Blake had attempted to make, which was slightly burned but delicious anyway. Emma talked nonstop about the wedding, about dresses and flowers and cake, and Blake and Keira exchanged amused glances over her head. Later, after Emma had finally fallen asleep, still wearing her fancy dress because she refused to take it off, Blake and Keira sat on the couch, her hand in his, both of them staring at the ring on her finger. I cannot believe this is real, Keira said softly. A year ago, I was alone in my office, working 80-hour weeks, convinced that success meant sacrificing everything else. And now I have you and Emma and this whole life I did not even know I wanted. I was drowning, Blake admitted. Trying to keep the business afloat, trying to be everything Emma needed, feeling like I was failing at both. I was exhausted and scared and so lonely, and then you appeared like something out of a dream and everything changed. We saved each other. Yeah, we did. They planned the wedding for the following spring. It was small, held in the backyard of the house that now belonged to all three of them, Keira having sold her apartment and officially moved in over the winter. Emma was the flower girl and took her responsibilities very seriously, practicing her walk down the aisle for weeks beforehand. Keira's business partners attended, along with Blake's friends and customers. Mrs. Patterson was there, tears in her eyes. Mr. Chen gave a toast about how he knew they were meant to be together from the moment Blake told him about the woman from the tower who drove him home. The Johnsons from the hospital brought an elaborate cake. Keira wore a simple white dress and carried wildflowers. Blake wore a suit that made him look unfairly handsome and cried when he saw her walking toward him. Emma stood between them during the ceremony, holding both their hands, and when the officiant pronounced them married, all three of them hugged together. The reception was held in the same backyard, under string lights and a clear spring sky. They danced and ate and laughed, and Keira felt happier than she had ever imagined possible. That night, after the guests had gone and Emma had fallen asleep, exhausted from dancing, Blake and Keira stood in their bedroom, still wearing their wedding clothes. Hello, Mrs. Anderson, Blake said softly. Hello, Mr. Anderson. Keira had kept her last name professionally, but she loved hearing him call her that anyway. I love you. I am going to love you every day for the rest of our lives. I am going to hold you to that. Life settled into a new rhythm. Keira cut back her hours at work, hiring a COO to handle some of the day-to-day operations. It meant she could be there for school pickups and soccer practices and weekend adventures. Blake's business continued to grow, and eventually he was able to buy the building he had been leasing, a milestone they celebrated with champagne and tears of joy. Emma thrived. She excelled in school and made friends easily. She played soccer and took art classes and never stopped talking. She called Keira Mom, without the hybrid now, and Keira loved her with a fierceness that sometimes scared her with its intensity. 2 years after the wedding, Keira found herself staring at a pregnancy test in the bathroom of their house. Positive. She and Blake had talked about having another child, but talking about it and seeing the evidence were two different things. She found Blake in the garage, working on a customer's car. He looked up when she entered, grease on his hands and a smile on his face. Hey, beautiful, what is up? Keira held up the test. "We are going to have a baby." Blake's eyes went wide. He put down the wrench he was holding, wiped his hands on a rag, and crossed to her in 3 long strides. "Are you serious? Really? Really?" He picked her up and spun her around, laughing. "We are going to have a baby." Emma was thrilled when they told her. She immediately started planning, deciding that the baby should have the room next to hers so she could help take care of it, and that if it was a girl they should name her Princess, and if it was a boy they should name him Dragon. "We will take those suggestions under advisement," Blake said solemnly, while Keira tried not to laugh. The pregnancy was not easy. Keira had morning sickness that lasted all day, and the exhaustion was unlike anything she had experienced. But Blake was there for every moment, bringing her crackers in bed and rubbing her feet, and never complaining when she cried over commercials, or insisted they drive across town for a specific kind of ice cream. Emma was helpful in her own way, bringing Keira her stuffed animals to make her feel better and reading to the baby through Keira's stomach. Their son was born on a cold November morning. Blake was there, holding Keira's hand and crying when he first saw his son. Emma came to the hospital later that day and stared at her baby brother with wonder. "He is so tiny," she whispered. "Can I hold him?" They named him Benjamin, after Blake's father who had passed away years before. He had Blake's eyes and Keira's nose and a surprisingly full head of dark hair. Taking care of a newborn while managing a business and a 9-year-old was chaotic. There were sleepless nights and endless diapers and moments when Keira wondered how they would get through it. But they did, together. Blake took paternity leave from the garage, something he never would have been able to afford in the early days. Emma helped when she could, fetching diapers and singing to Benjamin when he cried. And slowly, they found their new rhythm. Benjamin grew, hitting milestones and filling the house with new sounds and energy. Emma doted on him, and the bond between them was beautiful to watch. One evening, when Benjamin was 6 months old, Keira stood in the doorway of the nursery, watching Blake rock their son to sleep. Emma was curled up on the couch in the corner, reading a book, unwilling to leave when it was time to say goodnight. Blake looked up and caught Keira watching. He smiled, and in that smile was everything they had built together: love and family and home. Later, after both children were asleep, they sat together on the back porch, wrapped in blankets against the cold. Snow was starting to fall, the first of the season. "Do you remember that morning?" Keira asked. "When I first saw you shoveling snow, how could I forget? You came down from your office in those ridiculous boots and changed my entire life." "I think you changed mine." Keira leaned against him. "I was so focused on success and achievement, on building something impressive, but none of it meant anything because I had no one to share it with. You gave me that. You and Emma and now Benjamin. You gave me a life worth living." Blake kissed the top of her head. "You saved me, Keira. I was drowning and trying to pretend I was not. I was exhausted and scared and had no idea how to keep going. And then you showed up and saw me, really saw me, and offered help without making me feel small for needing it. You gave me hope. We saved each other. Yeah, we did." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the snow fall, and Keira thought about how much had changed since that cold morning when she made an impulsive decision to go meet a stranger. How that one choice had led to this, to family and love and belonging. The years continued to pass. Emma grew into a thoughtful teenager who still loved her family fiercely. Benjamin was a rambunctious toddler who kept everyone on their toes. Blake's business expanded, and he hired more staff, giving him even more flexibility. Keira's company went public, making her wealthier than she had ever imagined. But the money mattered less than the people she came home to every night. They bought a bigger house, one with enough room for everyone and a large backyard where they hosted barbecues and birthday parties. The old house they kept as a rental property, unable to let go of the place where their family had truly begun. They took vacations as a family, introducing the kids to the beach and the mountains and busy cities. They had movie nights and game nights and Sunday dinners that always lasted too long because no one wanted them to end. There were hard times too. Blake's mother passed away, and he grieved deeply. Keira's company faced a lawsuit that took years to resolve. Emma struggled with anxiety in middle school, and they navigated therapy and medication and learning how to help her. Benjamin broke his arm falling off the monkey bars, and the fear on Blake's face in the emergency room reminded Keira that loving this much meant being vulnerable to pain. But they faced it all together, supporting each other through every challenge, celebrating every victory. On their 10th wedding anniversary, Blake and Keira returned to the backyard where they had been married. They had hired a babysitter for the night, something that still felt like a luxury and a necessity in equal measure, and they stood under the string lights that still hung there. 10 years, Blake said. Sometimes it feels like yesterday, sometimes it feels like you have always been here. I cannot imagine my life without you, without this family we built. Blake pulled her close, and they swayed together to music only they could hear. Do you ever regret it, giving up the corporate lifestyle, the 80-hour weeks, the constant pursuit of more? Never, not even for a second. Keira looked up at him. I was successful before, but I was empty. Now I have everything that matters. I used to worry that I was not enough for you, Blake admitted. That eventually you would miss your old life, the excitement and prestige, that I was too ordinary. Blake Anderson, you are the least ordinary man I have ever met. You are kind and hardworking and an incredible father and partner. You saw me at my loneliest and made me feel seen. You took a chance on love when you had every reason to protect yourself. You are everything. I love you, Keira. Every day I love you more. I love you too, always. The house was warm and glowing when they returned home. The babysitter had managed to get both kids to bed on time, a minor miracle. Blake paid her while Keira checked on their sleeping children. Emma was sprawled across her bed, homework scattered around her, earbuds still in even though she was asleep. Keira gently removed them and pulled the blanket over her daughter. Emma stirred slightly but did not wake. Benjamin was in his toddler bed, one leg hanging off the side, his favorite stuffed elephant clutched to his chest. Keira adjusted him carefully, kissing his forehead. Blake appeared in the doorway. All good, all perfect. They retreated to their own bedroom, and Blake pulled Keira into his arms. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For saying yes. For taking a chance on a struggling mechanic with a kid and more problems than solutions. For building this life with me. Thank you for being worth the chance. For loving me so completely. For giving me the family I did not know I needed. They fell asleep wrapped around each other, the house quiet and peaceful around them. Years continued their steady march forward. Emma graduated high school with honors and left for college, leaving a hole in the house that everyone felt. Benjamin grew from a toddler into a bright, energetic boy who asked a million questions and never stopped moving. Blake and Keira renewed their vows on their 15th anniversary, with Emma home from college and Benjamin as the ring bearer. It was just as meaningful as the first time, perhaps more so because of everything they had weathered together. They grew older, grayer, softer around the edges. Their love deepened, becoming something solid and unshakable, the foundation on which everything else was built. One winter morning, Blake woke early to shovel snow from their driveway. He was 50 now, his dark hair streaked with silver, his face lined with years of smiles and worry. But he was strong and healthy, and he still insisted on taking care of the people around him. Keira watched him from the window, coffee cup in hand, just as she had all those years ago. But now she was not watching a stranger. She was watching her husband, the father of her children, the love of her life. Blake looked up and saw her in the window. Even from this distance, she could see him smile. He gestured for her to come down. She grabbed her coat, her boots much more practical now than they had been that first morning, and met him outside. I was just thinking, Blake said, leaning on his shovel, about the morning we met. You came down from your office to meet some guy shoveling snow. Best decision I ever made. I was so tired that day. Exhausted and overwhelmed and scared about the future. I had no idea that my life was about to change completely. Keira moved closer, wrapping her arms around him. I was lonely. Successful and accomplished and so deeply lonely. And then I saw you helping your neighbors and something in me knew I had to meet you. Fate, maybe, or maybe just two people who needed each other finding their way to one another. Blake kissed her, long and slow, and then pulled back with a laugh. We should probably finish this snow removal before we get too distracted. I will help. Keira grabbed a shovel from the garage. They worked together, clearing not just their own driveway, but also Mrs. Patterson's. She was older now, more frail, but still living in her house with the help of a part-time aide. And Mr. Chen's, though he had passed away 2 years ago and a young couple with a baby now lived there. And the Johnsons, who were preparing to retire and move south. When they finished, cold and tired but satisfied, they went inside to warm up. Benjamin was awake, eating cereal at the kitchen table and watching videos on his tablet. "Morning, buddy," Blake said, ruffling his son's hair. "Morning. You guys were shoveling for the neighbors again?" "Of course." Benjamin nodded like this was the most natural thing in the world, which it was. He had grown up watching his parents help others, seeing love in action every day. Emma called later that morning. She was in graduate school now, studying social work, inspired by the compassion her parents had shown her throughout her life. "How are you guys?" she asked when Keira answered. "We are good. Your dad and I were just out shoveling snow." "Some things never change," Emma laughed. "I miss you guys." "We miss you too, sweetie. When are you coming home?" 2 weeks. I will be there for Benjamin's birthday." They talked for a while longer about classes and friends and the life Emma was building. When they hung up, Keira felt the familiar bittersweet ache of missing her daughter while being proud of who she was becoming. That evening, after Benjamin was in bed, Blake and Keira sat on the couch, her feet in his lap while he absently massaged them. "Do you think we did okay?" Blake asked suddenly. "With the kids, with everything?" "I think we did better than okay. Emma is in graduate school, passionate about helping people. Benjamin is happy and healthy and knows he is loved. We built something good here, Blake. I just want them to be happy. To feel secure and loved and ready to face the world. They are, because of you, because you showed them what it means to be kind, to work hard, to care about others." Blake pulled her closer. "We showed them together. This was always a team effort." They sat in comfortable silence, the kind that came from years of knowing each other deeply. Outside, snow continued to fall, blanketing the world in white. Inside, the house was warm and filled with evidence of the life they had built. Photographs on the walls, books on the shelves, shoes by the door. "I am grateful," Keira said softly. "For every single day I get with you, for this family, for this life. I would not change a thing. Even the hard parts, they made us stronger. They taught us what really matters." Blake kissed her forehead. "I love you, Keira Owens Anderson." "I love you too, Blake Anderson. Forever." Years later, when Blake and Keira were in their 60s, they found themselves grandparents. Emma had married a kind man who worked as a teacher, and they had a daughter they named Lily. Benjamin was in college, studying engineering, with a girlfriend he was serious about. Blake was semi-retired now, having sold the garage to Jeremy, his former assistant who had become like a son to him. He still worked part-time, unable to completely let go of the work he loved. Keira had stepped down as CEO but remained on the board of her company, mentoring young entrepreneurs and investing in startups. They had time now, time to travel and pursue hobbies and simply be together. They spent their mornings drinking coffee on the porch, their afternoons working in the garden or reading, their evenings cooking dinner together and watching the sunset. When Lily was born, they drove to the hospital immediately. Emma looked tired but radiant, and the baby in her arms was perfect. "Mom, Dad, meet your granddaughter," Emma said. Keira held Lily carefully, marveling at her tiny fingers and the way she made small noises in her sleep. Blake stood beside her, his hand on her shoulder, and they were both crying. "She is beautiful," Keira whispered. "She looks like you did as a baby," Blake told Emma. "Same nose, same chin." Later, watching Blake hold his granddaughter, Keira was struck by the passage of time. The man who had been shoveling snow in exhaustion all those years ago was now a grandfather, silver-haired and settled, surrounded by the family he had built through love and determination. "What are you thinking about?" Blake asked, looking up and catching her watching him. "Everything. How far we have come, how much has changed, how lucky I am." "We are both lucky." Blake carefully adjusted Lily in his arms. "I spent so many years just trying to survive, to get through each day. I never imagined I could have all this. A wife who loves me, kids who turned out to be incredible people, and now a grandchild. It is more than I ever dreamed possible. You deserve all of it. You always did." They stayed at the hospital until visiting hours ended, reluctant to leave but knowing Emma needed rest. On the drive home, Blake reached over and took Keira's hand. "Do you remember what you said to me that first morning when you drove me home?" "I said a lot of things. You said good people deserve help. You saw me at my lowest and decided I was worth helping." "No one had done that for me in a long time, maybe ever." Keira squeezed his hand. "I saw someone who was giving everything to help others, even when he had nothing left for himself. How could I not want to know that person? You changed my life that day. You gave me hope when I had none left. You gave me love when I thought I did not deserve it. You gave me everything." We gave each other everything. They drove in comfortable silence, hands linked, hearts full. The snow had started falling again, just like it had on that morning so many years ago when their story began. But now, instead of exhaustion and struggle, it represented peace and contentment, and a love that had weathered every storm. When they got home, they found Benjamin there, having driven in from school to surprise them with the news that he had proposed to his girlfriend, and she had said yes. "Mom, Dad, I wanted you to hear it from me first," he said, his face glowing with happiness. "I asked Jessica to marry me. More celebration, more tears, more love." They stayed up late talking about wedding plans and the future, about the ways their family would continue to grow and change. Eventually, Benjamin headed back to school and Blake and Keira were alone again. They stood in the kitchen, cleaning up the remnants of the impromptu celebration, moving around each other with the practiced ease of decades together. "Our babies are all grown up," Blake said. Emma with a baby of her own, Benjamin getting married. When did that happen? Gradually, then suddenly. Keira put the last dish away and turned to him, "But we still have each other. Always have, always will." They went to bed, curling around each other as they had for countless nights before. Outside, the snow continued to fall, blanketing the world in white. Inside, wrapped in each other's arms, Blake and Keira felt nothing but warmth. The seasons passed. They attended Benjamin's wedding, a joyous celebration where Emma brought baby Lily, and the whole family came together. They celebrated holidays and birthdays and ordinary days that became extraordinary simply because they were together. They grew older, their pace slowing, their hair turning completely white, but their love never diminished. If anything, it grew stronger, deeper, more precious with each passing year. On their 30th wedding anniversary, their children threw them a surprise party. Friends and family filled their house, spilling out into the backyard where they had been married 3 decades before. Mrs. Patterson was there, now in her 90s and still sharp as ever. Jeremy was there with his own family. Emma and her family, Benjamin and Jessica. Blake stood to give a toast, and the crowd quieted. 30 years ago, I married the woman who saved my life, he began. I was struggling, drowning really, trying to keep my head above water and take care of my daughter. I was exhausted and scared and convinced I had to do everything alone. And then Keira appeared, like an angel in impractical boots, and she saw me. Not my struggles, not my failures, but me. The person I was trying to be, the father I wanted to be, the man I hoped I could become. He looked at Keira, his eyes shining. She gave me everything. love and partnership and family. She taught me that asking for help is not weakness, that love is not something to fear, that I was worthy of all the good things I had convinced myself I did not deserve. She gave me 30 years of happiness, of laughter, of building a life together that exceeded my wildest dreams. Blake raised his glass. To Keira, my wife, my partner, my love, thank you for every single day. Thank you for choosing me. The crowd echoed the toast, and Keira stood to join Blake. He wrapped his arms around her, and she rested her head against his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. I love you, she whispered. I love you too, always and forever. The party continued around them, filled with music and laughter and the sounds of family. But in that moment, holding each other in the backyard where they had promised to love each other for the rest of their lives, Blake and Keira were in their own world. They danced under the string lights, moving slowly, perfectly in sync. Around them, their children danced with their families, creating the next generation of love stories. Emma swayed with her husband while Lily slept on her shoulder. Benjamin and Jessica laughed together, still in the early stages of their own journey. We did good, Blake murmured. We did great, Keira corrected. The years continued their inevitable march. Lily grew into a bright, curious child who loved spending time with her grandparents. Benjamin and Jessica had twins, a boy and a girl, and the house was once again filled with the sounds of young children during family gatherings. Blake and Keira settled into the rhythm of their later years with grace. They took walks together every morning, traveled when they felt like it, and spent long afternoons on the porch, simply enjoying each other's company. They still helped their neighbors, though the tasks were smaller now. Keira helped the young family next door with their taxes, and Blake showed their teenage son how to change the oil in his first car. They were fixtures in the neighborhood, the couple everyone knew and loved. One winter morning, Keira woke to find Blake already up, standing at the window with a cup of coffee. "What are you looking at?" she asked, joining him. "Snow, remember how we met? How could I forget?" Blake turned to her, his face soft with emotion. "I think about it sometimes. What would have happened if you had not come down that morning, if you had just kept watching from your office window and gone about your day? I cannot imagine it, cannot imagine my life without you in it. Me either." Blake set down his coffee and took both her hands. "You are the best thing that ever happened to me, Keira. Every day with you has been a gift. Every day with you has been an adventure. The best kind, the kind where I come home to love and laughter and belonging." They stood together at the window, watching the snow fall, and it felt like coming full circle. Two people who had found each other when they needed it most, who had built a life of love and family and purpose. "Should we go shovel the neighbors' driveways?" Keira asked, only half joking. Blake laughed. "I think we can leave that to the younger generation now, but maybe we can make some hot chocolate for when they come by later." That sounds perfect. And it was. All of it was perfect. Not because their life had been without challenges or pain or struggle, but because they had faced it all together. Because they had chosen love every single day. Because a woman in a tower had seen a struggling man helping his neighbors and known, somehow, that their stories were meant to intertwine. The snow fell softly outside, blanketing the world in white, and inside their home, Blake and Keira stood together, hands linked, hearts full, grateful for every moment of the life they had built. A life that had started with a simple act of kindness and grown into something beautiful and lasting and true. They had found each other in the cold and the struggle, and they had created warmth and love and family. They had saved each other, and in doing so, they had discovered that the greatest kind of love is the kind that grows stronger with time, that weathers storms and celebrates victories, that transforms two lonely people into one unbreakable team. And as they stood there together, watching the snow fall on another winter morning, they knew with absolute certainty that they would face whatever came next the same way they had faced everything else, together, with love forever.